It was a long, grindy weekend. This whole fitness thing is just all about grit.
This is a cash prize event. You have a bunch of athletes that are paying to be here. They get better and better, especially if that's going to be a number one critique.
I just watched everyone. I'm like, okay, what's working for them? What are they doing? Oh, that guy's doing something cool. I'm going to do that. My game plan has to change right now. So, I'm just looking dead center of the rope. So, quick loosening up the rope, recenter, and I could tell he was off balance just by the way the rope felt. I knew there was something I could do, and it was just hand over hand. Kept pulling him off balance, and I was able to win that event.
Welcome everyone. Today we are talking about the Hybricon Games, which is a championship for hybrid athletes to test their grit and capacity. And again, Hybricon is just short for hybrid conditioning. And today we have the 2025 champion who absolutely dominated the weekend, Dylan Miraglia. Dylan, take it away.
Yeah, I'm here today. This is the second win that I had in Hurricane, West Virginia. So I am the champ for just Hurricane, West Virginia fitness and anything that goes on there. And it was a long, grindy weekend. This whole fitness thing is just all about grit. There's nothing sterile about it. It's just all in fitness.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because we did an interview about your last win in Hurricane, West Virginia with Rally in the Valley, a Matt Stevens event. And before we get even further into that, again, Hybricon Games was created and founded by Austen Alexander. He is a massive YouTube personality, and he's just crushing it. And for the past 2 years, he brought on race director Hunter McIntyre. What's most important, this past year, they brought on Matt Stevens to help run the event, which is why they brought it to Hurricane, West Virginia. Dylan, what do you think? Because you were in Hybricon Games last year. What did you think about last year's event compared to this year's event in terms of location?
So just to back up real quick, Matt Stevens was involved in Hybricon last year. He was always the judge and head scorekeeper for Hybricon. But yeah, so between this year and last year, location-wise, nothing beats being on the island of Catalina. Everything was just right there. You see the ocean, you see these beautiful trails, you see Buffalo. It's a cool event. Hurricane's awesome. I love the trail system there, and that was just actually one. It was beautiful to see it during the day because last time I was there, it was pitch black, couldn't see anything. But I think Catalina just tops it out just because you're in this amazing location. That one, there's never fitness events going on at Catalina Island other than a triathlon or anything. This is truly special to be there. So to be at West Virginia is a little different, but it is a mountain state. So we just had a different aspect there.
And before we go deeper into the events that took place, I just want to talk about a lot of things that went on this year, especially things that went on last year during the games. Now, last year, they got a lot of critiques from the athletes about the organization of the entire event and the rules and how everything was in place for event to event and how it kind of changed. So I knew there was a lot of feedback last year. And if I was a race director hearing this feedback, I would do my best to work on those criticisms. Fast forward to this year, this weekend that just passed, do you feel like they worked to improve those critiques from the organization skills and the layout of each event, knowing that there's, clear rules and how everything is scored and judged?
I don't think the organization of the event improved at all from last year to this year. Last year, it was chaotic. Things changed on a dime, but things were on the island. You couldn't go anywhere else. Everything was there. Nothing could be changed. So you had to deal with it. And they knew that. Here, things were changing. Things can be moved around because you're in a home location and grab different things to do different stuff. So it almost seemed like as an athlete, just looking at it, they were changing the rules. They were changing scoring as it was going on. And day one at the athlete brief, Hunter made it very simple, which I liked. He's like, hey, this is going to go on like a river. I'll stop it before the event goes on. I'll tell you everything you want to know. I'll answer all your questions. But once we say 3, 2, 1, go, it's a river. It's flowing. I'm not stopping it. I'm like, cool. That's super simple. Just tell us the rules, tell us the scoring, and then we go. And there's no changing after that. But it seemed like there was this constant, let's give one athlete brief to the males, and then they started, and then it's given differently to the females. And you're like, all right, there's a disconnect here.
Okay, so as best as they wanted to make it, it still seemed like there was things that just got away from them, and then it kind of was on the athletes to figure it out whether or not this is how it's going to go down.
You had like 3 alpha guys, and they all tried to like butt heads and try to make things work, and then nothing was getting done to like actually make a clear solution.
So can you give me a clear point of during the event or during the weekend, at whichever point, where you truly felt like it just got disconnected and it got away from the race directors?
The biggest thing is like, what was it? Coal miner. Absolutely great event. Loved it to death. We were at Memorial Tunnel just outside of Hurricane, West Virginia, and it used to be like the old West Virginia Turnpike that the government army turned over and started using as a training center, and then it got shut down to the public. And I'll have to go into this from further detail, but a mushroom farmer now leases the property. Anyway, what seemed like a simple event, because they said, hey, we're going to do a 2-mile farmer carry. Cool. The farmer carry turned into a unilateral farmer carry. So it seems like that was sort of an area of like, thought we were using 2 bags, but now we're using 1 bag. Whatever. This is the event. I don't care. We're going to have some fun. And then it was told to us, you're doing 2 miles. It's like, cool. We're doing 2 miles. I knew, because I had to look this up because I was curious myself. The tunnel is exactly, it said it in feet, but it's just over 800 meters down. So if we want to do 2 miles, it's down, back, down, back. And as soon as we go, Hunter gives the clear direction of like, all right, you're going down and back. It's like, are you sure? Because that's not 2 miles. And they're like, no, we clocked it out. It's 2 miles. I'm like, you're in a tunnel. You're not getting GPS. There's no way. But like, okay, if you say down and back, sure. Like, I'm listening to you. You say 3, 2, 1, go. There's no changing it. The river's flowing. So we get down, touch the wall. Everyone is just sprinting because like this is not 2 miles, and everyone's now going out at mile pace. And as soon before we get to the turnaround, we look at Hunter like, are you sure we're just going back down? Or are you sure? And you could see there was hesitation in his face. Like he didn't know what to say. And he's like, just go. Just go. He was not answering any more questions at that point. He's like, just do it. I'm like, well, what happened to answering all of our questions? It's like, whatever. We get to the end, and then he's like, turn around, do it again. And I'm like, I knew it. Like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's go run it back. I knew it was going to be 2 miles, but we all went out at mile pace. And this one girl, Emily, was just like, you can't do that. That's not fair. And she was just throwing a tantrum. I'm like at this point, it doesn't matter. Like, we're just doing it regardless. And I was confused if they were trying to do like this CrossFit Games, like 5K run, and Dave Cash was like, oh, you got to run it back. Or if they just absolutely had no idea how long this tunnel was, which was listed on Wikipedia. So there was this whole thing of like, the athletes could tell there was confusion, and the race directors were butting heads about what was going on.
It's funny you bring up the CrossFit Games because that's exactly what I thought. At least in that situation, that was a planned surprise for the athletes. They always knew they were going to make them run it back, unbeknown to the athletes, but the race directors knew ahead of time. The way you're describing it, it sounds like they did not know that, and they did not plan it, and they didn't just change course, mid-event, which from an athlete standpoint really sucks because, like you guys said, you guys are going out at a mile pace, and now you got to run an additional mile. You're cooked.
And I don't care either way. Like, I love doing unknown mile runs. Like, I was in Go Ruck Games. They took us on the beach and they said, all right, go run. You're going to see Cadre, and they're going to tell you to keep going, turn around, or you're done. It's like, don't know how long we're running, but cool, let's go. So they told us it was going to be 2 miles, and they're like, okay, you told us the distance. Like, that's what it has to be. That's what everyone is now going to pace for, so they could win this event, because it's a cash prize event. Every event that they did, they were giving out cash for. So it's a big deal for every athlete. It's like, if you're going to say it's 2 miles, well, now my game plan is 2 miles.
Yeah, that's really rough for one to get all these athletes out there. They're preparing for, if not the win for the weekend, at least a win in whatever event that they're going to specialize in. And to have those rules changed mid-event would really screw people over, especially if they were expecting. Wait, just wondering, for the first person to cross the line for the mile, was he also the same person to cross first for the 2?
No, I believe Jake crossed first. And this phenomenal athlete, Andrew Guerra, just dominated the pace and got faster and just crushed that mile. I think so. He used to be a rugby athlete. He used to play for the USA Eagles. And I totally was funny. He's like, "Oh, you have a rugby backpack. I played rugby too." And I asked him, like, "Who'd you play for?" He's like, "Oh, USA Eagles." I'm like, "Dude, you played rugby. I just participated." Like, there's a huge level of difference. But yeah, he crushed it. They posted his photo on Instagram, and someone commented, like, "This man will never be late for a connecting flight ever." I'm like just laughing at night. But yeah, he crushed that event. So he won the $500.
Okay. It is funny to see that there was a difference between the 1 miler and the 2 miler who crossed. So that definitely did mess some people up. But regardless of race, there's always going to be, disorganization and stuff that goes on. You just have to handle on the fly for an event that's been around, what, 5 years or so?
This was their 4th year doing it. Yeah.
Their 4th year, you would hope they get better and better, especially if that's going to be a number one critique, hearing from all the athletes from the year prior. But if it's not improving, you really got to look at how you're setting up and what you're doing as you go forward, especially into the next year. Regardless of all that, let's dive into the 3-day weekend. What is Hybricon and what their championship entails? So day 1, Friday, you're flying in. What is going on?
So it started on Thursday. Thursday was just like the athlete brief, which we just got briefed for one event because they were getting new. They wanted to tell us all the standards before the events because it would just take too long.
Yeah.
And it was so cool because they gave away a car to the veteran who was just helping out, taking photos that day too. What? So everyone was just in the athlete brief like, what's going on? They just gave away a car.
Wait, what kind of car?
They gave away a Ford Fusion. But it was just like, didn't expect this. That was cool of Austen and Matt to set that up. Anyway, Friday, the first event we had to do, and this is how it was briefed, it was we had to chop 2 logs, and as soon as we were done chopping 2 logs, we had to run into the woods for a unknown mile run, which if you looked at Hunter's Strava, you knew it was going to be an 11-mile run because he ran it the day before. And the biggest thing about the log chop is there were penalties, and they were going to heavily penalize you if you couldn't get it done within 20 minutes. I think if you chopped, there was 2. If you chopped 1 log, I think you would get a 10-point penalty. If you couldn't chop either log, you get a 20-point penalty, and you would have to wait 20 minutes until you could start running the trail.
Wow.
So it'd be a 20-minute time penalty plus point penalty, depending on the logs you couldn't chop.
Did anyone pay attention to Hunter Strava before? How many people knew prior that it was going to be 11 miles?
In the email, he said it was definitely going to be like 10, maybe a little over. And then Gus was smart enough to look at his Strava the night before, and he sent me the little screenshot showing like what the trail was and how long it was. I'm like, all right, this is good to know. And you could see the peaks were at like mile 2, 6, and 8. Those were going to be like the elevation hikes.
Okay, that's funny. All right, so how did that event go down for you? Log chop and the trail run.
The week prior, like I knew we were going to be chopping logs, so I spent a little bit on the internet looking at the timber sports and what they call the under chop. And these guys like fly through logs in like 30 seconds. So they're standing on top of the log is in a vise, and they're able to put all that energy to it. And 30 seconds, the log split in half. I'm like, okay, well, this is how I'm splitting wood because they know what they're doing.
Yep.
And Hunter gave a demo on like how to chop wood before, and he said all the right things. So he said like, oh, you could be the big, strongest guy in the world, and if you just hit as hard as you can, nothing's going to happen, which is true. And he said you want to hit at angles, and you want to pretty much chip the wood away from the log, which is also true. But the way he was showing you how to do it is like how not to chop wood. He was swinging the top of the wood, which imagine trying to be in karate and you're trying to break a board. When you break a board, there's space under the board, like nothing's there. So all that energy can go through the board and it breaks. Now imagine putting the ground or the board on top of the ground and trying to break that board again. You're not going to break it because the ground's right there and all that energy is just dissipating through the board and the ground.
Yep.
Same thing happens when you chop the top of a log. It's not going to split that way. And also, he was turning his axe as he was swinging down. So if you're turning your axe head, then your energy is now getting shifted and you're making wasted swings. So the way you want to chop wood is you want to stand over the log, hit the backside of it, and just turn your body. So you're always holding your axe head straight. It's always going over your head in a straight line every single time. And all you're doing is just turning your body to make those angles.
So with being a wood chopping expert, it sounds like, please tell me you were definitely the first one through your wood.
Yes, I was the first one through my wood. I think I got through the first log in 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and then the next log, the total time of like 10 minutes I got through it. So
Okay.
as soon as I got done with my log, like it was a straight line to get to the woods, but you couldn't run behind people swinging axes. So I had to like run down a very steep hill just to go back up to get to the woods. And as soon as I took my first step, I just ate it and started sliding down the hill. Like I do at all races, I always fall. So yeah, first thing, happy about it. You hear that crack in the split, you run, boom, on the ground. And then I
Wow.
climb back up. And apparently no one saw me because then Hunter's like, oh, there's Marshall. He's the first one done with the wood. And like, I was already in the woods 2 minutes prior.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, I was trying to catch live streams as much as I could, and it was just hard to follow, so I kind of quit. So I'm glad we're recapping this now. Especially watching you fall would have been great to see, especially since that's the second time now in Hurricane, West Virginia, that you would eat it right out of the gate on an
100%.
event. So
100%.
what was the trail run like? I mean, you get through the log, you do it in a pretty efficient time. You're now the first one out to the woods. You have to gauge because you have no idea who's going to finish next and what pace they're going to be throwing down. So what's going on? Where, if people caught up, where did they catch up, and how far along were you? What was the game plan?
It was cool because I think after like the first half mile, there's like a switchback and you run back towards and you can almost see people like chopping wood. So you hear people chopping wood. You're like, all right, I'm a half mile in. I still hear wood chopping, like music to my ears. Amazing. But yeah, like the first 2 miles is focused on me, like just getting back my heart rate because I was jacked up and like my arms are all pumped up. So trying to run with like your arms just like full of blood is hard. So that was my idea. Is like, all right, I could get 2 minutes, 2 miles in, and like then people might start catching me, but I should be like warmed up to the point where I could start throwing down a faster time.
Yep.
Uh, I maybe got 2 miles in. Marshall caught up to me. He's just a better, at that point, definitely a faster runner than me. So he booked it. I ran with him for a little bit, but he just got away from me. I was running at a slow pace. Jake Gibbs caught me around like mile 4, and he was going at like 7:30 pace, just flying. I think I was running around like 8:45 pace, so he was cruising. Cole caught me about halfway through. And like my goal in my head was like I just wanted to be top 5. So I'm like clicking down, like, okay, I'm in 4th now. I still got another spot and I could be where I want to be. And I was looking at my watch and it's in kilometers. So I'm trying to do the math, like how many kilometers in like 11 miles. I think I have like another 2 miles left. I was like not doing the math right. And someone just comes booking by me. Absolutely. I think it was, who was it? Cole Pierce. He's a CrossFitter out of Mayhem. And now he's like a hybrid athlete. So loud. I could hear him just stomping through, and he kicked at the perfect time because there was only 400 meters left and he was cruising. And then I get up to the top of the hill and I realized there's no more like room for this race. It is over and I cannot catch up to him. And I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, I was way off. I thought I had more in the race. So
assuming you
it
had it set to kilometers just through training and everything, and you just didn't reset it. Oh boy.
Didn't reset it, had it in kilometers. I was an idiot, but he like took that event because he deserved it. He kicked at the perfect time and like he was a freight train.
So that concludes the first event. You took 5th in the run, but it was split into 2 scoring segments. So technically you got points for first. And did they pay that out differently? So did they pay for?
They paid out the wood shop.
Nice. Did they also pay out the
paid out the run? I think. I'm not entirely sure.
All right. Not bad. Not a bad way to start out the weekend, coming off with an event win and then taking 5th for the run. So let's walk through, the rest of the events that transpired, especially, Saturday and Sunday. Just talk about the ones that kind of stand out the most. We don't have to go over every single one because there were quite a few events, but what were the highlights that stood out to you specifically and ones that you kind of felt like you trained absolutely correctly for that weekend?
Just for Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
So Saturday started off with the log. That went totally off the rails. I trained it. I knew the log was going to be, I knew I could get around 225 is what I had in the max. And I'm like, okay, if it's with these elbow sleeves, I should be able to get a little heavier. And the coolest thing about that is they had the Slater logs there. So like I've always wanted to lift a Slater log. They had them. I'm like, this is a great opportunity. And those things are way harder. All the density is like in the center versus it just being spread out like a normal metal log.
Yeah.
Harder to lift. And Hunter gave the rulings like, just get it shoulder to overhead. Doesn't matter how. So it turned into like, who is the best at split jerking this log? Not me. I can't split jerk. So I would have never tried split jerking. So I was just push pressing, and I was just happy I got a push press of like 200 pounds up, and I failed the 230. But you have like Jake Gibbs and who won that event? Colby Miller. Stud athlete. I think he's like 21, 22. He's a super young kid and just does an amazing split jerk at 270 pounds with the log.
That's pretty impressive.
Crushed the event. Absolutely crushed it. So watching him was pretty cool because every athlete has their own specialty there, and he was like the strength conditioning guy. So he was amazing with strength.
So threw down on his event as he should. You, unfortunately, knowing your shoulder to overhead is not your particular favorite, kind of sucked for you, but at least you got to touch these Slater logs. There's a lot of people who always want to use them, but will never have access to them. And like you said, they are wildly different than the metal logs you'll find even in a strongman gym.
Yeah. And probably the other cool event just for that day of Saturday, like has the coolest name. Hunter did a great job with this one. Heavy metal tuxedo. So Hunter made this event. It's like you're wearing the Battle Bunker 20-pound vest, and it's super simple. It's pretty much like the deadlift mile. You're deadlifting. I think the weight started at 315, 4 reps. You run a 400-meter lap. Then it goes to 365 for 3 reps. And you run a 400-meter lap. Then it goes to 405 for 2 reps. Run a 400-meter lap. And then the last one is 465 or 455, 1-run lap.
So pretty good weights on the barbell with some running, and especially when I first heard about that event, I didn't know the weight vest was going to be a part of it. So when I saw people running around with the vests on, I was like, whoa, okay, that kind of changes up things just a little bit. It makes the run more uncomfortable and definitely adds just a little bit more to that hinge on the deadlift. So how'd that feel wearing that with the deadlift? I'm just curious.
It made no difference with the deadlift. The running, it was just like, all right, who could keep their feet turning over as fast as they can? For this whole event. So, and it was cool because it wasn't exactly a 400-meter track. We did it on the outside of a soccer field. So it's probably like 360 meters, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you see the first time go down, and Christian, super big dude, like 235 pounds. He had the fastest time of his event, and I saw him passing through around like 5:30 or 5:20 or something like that. And you're just thinking about that in your head as a mile time. You're like, shit, he ran like a 5:20 mile and did all these deadlifts. And then you have to realize, like, tell yourself, like, no, it's like a 350-meter run, so it's not exactly a mile. So it kind of makes sense in your head. So but you're like, the first time you see that, you're like, I cannot compete with that.
Yeah, it kind of fools you until it's your time to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was one of the events I saw on the live stream, and I was waiting to watch you because I knew this was going to be a great event for you. And you're about to move into, at least where I came in, you're about to move into your last barbell. So I'm like, sick. I get to see his final lift. It's the heaviest one, and then I'll take off. And then just as you are starting to run up to your barbell, they pan to Jake. And Jake was still on the prior barbell, and he had hands on his knees, just gasping for air, trying to get ready for however many lifts he had to do with the prior bar. And I'm just like, no, like, hand the camera back over. I want to see this lift. And they pan it back over, but you already took off running. So they panned it back to Jake, who still has his hands on his knees, gasping for air. And I'm just like, fuck, I missed it. I really wanted to see that lift.
The funny thing about that is, like, I think Jake was going to be like the only athlete to not get all the barbells lifted. So he went super slow on the runs. And I remember, I think it was my second lap or my third lap, like he was a lap behind already. But I start barreling through, and he starts like, oh, I guess I'll pick up the pace and like pace you out. So he starts pacing me out to go faster, which I'm like, sweet, this is cool. I need some motivation to keep going faster because I was the fastest guy in my heat, but Andrew, he was the fastest guy in his heat, and he won it by, I think, 9 seconds or so. And he was just barreling down the last lap, and I saw that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, you kind of have to go all out, especially since you guys are separated in different heats. You don't know exactly if your time's going to stack up if there's later heats going on as well.
Yeah, so those were the 2 cool events of the day. Like the Slater logs, so awesome that we got to touch that, and heavy metal tuxedo. Badass name, badass event.
Definitely a badass name. Definitely a very cool event. I would have loved to participate in that one to see how I do and how I fare. But what else was going on that day, or do you want to just move on to Sunday? What were the standouts?
Just for Saturday as well. Like, actually, you know what? I'm gonna still talk about coal miner. Like, again, we talked. That was the day before, but I told you I still want to talk about it because it was the mushroom farmer owns it now, or he leases it, and he's super smart about leasing it. But we get there and we're like, all right, we're gonna meet this guy George. He's the mushroom guy, and he's like, hey guys, like this is my tunnel and I grow mushrooms here, which is like the perfect environment for like these mushrooms because it's all this humidity in this tunnel and like we got ventilation. And like you're just looking at this guy like, what the hell am I listening to?
I can tell you right now, I don't even have the patience to listen to you do it. I couldn't imagine just being there and being like, okay, it's leased out, right? Like you don't have to actually be here.
But no, but this guy's like super intelligent because he wrote all these research papers and made all these processes and like how to grow mushrooms in like the perfect environment. And he like finagled the government to give him this property to use it to grow mushrooms. So this dude's like living the life.
Interesting. So you got some cool history lessons, some whereabout facts, and then it was just off to the races.
Yeah. So that was a great event. But so you want to talk about Sunday. Sunday, it started off and it's almost seemed like some people weren't super stoked about this event. It was all right, Hunter's gonna go into the woods, send off a flare, and you have to run into the woods and find him. And this is at like 5 a.m. So pitch black, you're just running in the woods, no trails, no nothing, just like bushwhacking, trying to find Hunter. And every like so often, like at random intervals of like 2 minutes, he would send off an air horn.
So how many people are kind of nervous about this event? Because if I saw a pinpoint in the woods and then I started running in the woods, I feel like I would lose my generalized pinpoint of what I was trying to go towards.
So what they said, because it said Hunter would set off a flare, Hunter didn't send off a flare. They just sent off a flare as like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. And you're like, well, that wasn't where we're going, but I guess we have to run this way. And we hear an air horn. It's like, okay, whatever. We hear the air horn. I wasn't worried about this because I knew it was gonna be like a bunch of people running. Like, how lost can everyone get if someone's like trying to stay close? And like the way they scored it, it wasn't. And this is a big thing. They had no idea of like how this was going to be scored. The athletes didn't know what the scoring was. They just kind of told us like, okay, if you find Hunter in under 10 minutes, that's something like 0 points or maybe like a few points. If you find them within 15 minutes, like the 10 to 15 minutes range, there's a penalty. And then 15 to 20 minutes, there's a bigger penalty. And if you don't find them at all, the biggest penalty. But they didn't tell us what the scoring was. So it's like, well, you kind of have to tell us before we go. And they're like, we don't know yet. Like, okay, we all paid a bunch of money to be here. And like, this is for like the whole event. It's a cash prize. Like, I didn't need to know, but like, whatever, let's just go. And anyway, the air horn goes off. Apparently Hunter had an air horn problem because it was so cold that morning that the condensed air wasn't actually coming out of the air horn. And like,
oh no.
Okay, so this wasn't tested. I'll give them that. Like, who would think to actually test that? It's not something you think about. Yeah. But anyway, we're all running up to the hills. I'm running as much elevation as I can, like straight up the mountain with no trails, just bushwhacking. I figured like he's got to be somewhere. All the elevation has to be there. He said it was going to be like, if the time limit's 10 minutes, I'm like, he can't be more than a mile in the woods. Has to be close. So I'm just sprinting at this point. Somewhere it levels off. And then I hear another air horn. I'm like, perfect. I pinpointed exactly. I start running to it. And I get to a
real
table.
Quick, right at that moment, how many people are like right around you?
It seemed to be like there was like 4 main groups. Like I was the first one off going straight up the mountain. Yeah. There's a few other people going left of me. There's more people going to the right, following a trail going up. And then there was a few stragglers just spanned out.
Okay.
But I had like a few people following me. I know like this one kid, he's a Air Force PJ. He was following me. He's like, his name's Raymond. He's like, Dylan, I'm behind you. I'm like, cool. At least someone's following me. I feel safe. But I run by a table and I see an air horn on it. I'm like, okay, well, he's definitely moving, so this sucks. So now my objection of like going straight now is like,
Oh,
I,
so the air horn that you just heard that you beeline to, you see it on a table just left there.
yeah. So
Lovely.
I realized like he's moving because I kind of heard the air horn moving spots and I wasn't like picking up on like why it was doing that. And now I realize like, okay, he's moving. So then I hear another air horn. I'm like, okay, it's right. So I start following like a ridgeline trail. And then at finally some point, someone drops down early. It's Gus. And then I hear it again. So I drop down into like this hill ravine. And then we eventually find him. Gus was the first one there. He just beelined it straight to him. And then we're all just like waiting by Hunter, like, well, this is fun. Like it was a cool event. It's pitch black. You can't see anything. You just have your headlamp on. You're running.
So once you found him, was he no longer moving?
Yeah. So when Gus got to him, he wasn't moving. He was just, I think he was moving to like, he was up on the ridge so people would hear the air horn better. And then he dropped down
Oh,
into the hill so people would pinpoint that better. Because I
okay.
remember he was saying like he was at the top of the hill and people were running at him and he's like, what do I do? And just booked it.
Okay, that's interesting. So, uh, did Gus find him under the 10 minutes and then followed by you? Were you guys under that 10-minute mark, or how long did it take to get
Yeah,
there?
I was like number 4 finding him, and we were under the 10-minute mark. I think there was like, let's call it 6 people under the 10-minute mark.
Okay, and because you guys have no idea how it's scored, at least to how it was said to you, if you were under 10, you get X amount of points, but
Yeah.
was there a tiebreaker? Was it disclosed? Assuming the first person would get, the best placement out of it.
There was no tiebreaker. It was just if you got it under 10 minutes, these are the points you get. If you got it 10 to 15, these are the points you get. So
Okay,
there's like, this wasn't a paid out event. I think that's why.
got it.
Which is the next event, which is starting your fire. It gave us the same sort of guidelines. Like if you start your fire with under 10 minutes, you get these X of points. If you start from 10 to 15, you get these number of points. If it's 10 to 20, these number of points. And if you don't start your fire, you get a maximum set of points.
Got it. Got it.
So when we finally finished those two events, we found out like the maximum set of points that people were getting were like 25. And like if you got no points, it would be 0. But the next step up was like 10 and then 15 and 20 and 25. And we're like, how can you give out 25 points to someone when in the competition? Because like 4 other people got injured. So there's only 16 guys left. So if you're last place, you're now getting 16 points. So how can you penalize someone 25 points, like more so than getting last place? That is like, so
Oh,
like I was thinking about, I'm like, that's ridiculous. That makes no sense in a competition.
that's really rough if you're on the time limit end there. Did that happen to people?
That happened to people.
Oh boy.
So because of that, like people dropped so far down the standing. So Matt Fleck, he got 3rd in the competition. He's like, this makes no sense. Like I don't want to win this way. I'm like, you're right. That this is dumb. We got to make this closer. So he had the idea to go to Matt. So we both went to Matt Stevens. We're like, hey, like you can't penalize guys more so than getting a last place finish. Like 10 points more than getting last place finish. Like that doesn't make sense. So
Yep.
they said, okay, we're going to change the points from like 0 if you get it within the time cap to 6 points to 12 points to 15. So
Okay,
the max
that
points
sounds
you can lose
fair.
is 15. I'm like, that's perfect
Yeah.
because that would be like a last place finish.
All right, so now you're looking out for the other athletes, even though this does not benefit you at all.
I don't think it changed the standings too much, but like at that point, like who wants to win by someone getting a huge penalty for like an event that's like you can't really train for? Like
Yeah.
it's just like that.
Speaking of training for events, this event is very different than Rally in the Valley, where Rally in the Valley, Matt was very excited about his workout. He ended up releasing almost every single one prior. So you were able to train, and simulate those aspects. Now coming into Hybricon Games, where none of these things are disclosed, like how did you prepare for it this year? I mean, obviously you did it last year, so you had some kind of idea what they would do, but
Yeah.
what did your training look like? And also, let's give it up for Ryan, your coach, programming all your stuff. Now programming for a 2-time champion.
Absolutely.
Give it up to Ryan. Talk about his training protocols and how it kind of shaped you for this weekend.
Yeah. So Ryan with you could only prepare for what we know is going to happen. So like I've been watching Hunter's program feeds to see what he does at his athlete camp. So you kind of have an idea. It's like, oh, Hunter has a recurve bow. Like I'm sure going to be using recurve bows. And like Hunter's really into chopping wood right now. So probably going to be chopping wood. And then like you just see a few things on different athletes' pages like, well, they know something. Like maybe I should be doing that. So like you only know so much. You know they love using sandbags. So cool. We'll use all that sandbags. We'll train for these time domains. And Ryan was really smart and spot on like what to be doing and how to set it up. But the biggest thing is like there were definitely athletes that knew what the events were going to be before they actually released them. So all the athletes knew from the email about a week prior.
Okay.
And because we knew a week prior, that gives you time to sim one, maybe two of the workouts. And if you sim them, it's like a good baseline because you're going to perform better on comp day.
Every time. Absolutely.
But some of these athletes definitely knew like weeks in advance. And if you know at least like 6 to 8 weeks in advance, not only can you sim them so you perform better, in 6 to 8 weeks, you could train something to actively become not only just better from your baseline, but physically better and perform better at competition. So it was like, all right, this is like, it makes no sense. Like Goa was great because they didn't release any workouts to anybody. And you just showed up. You're like, cool, this is the event. I'm ready to go. Like no one knew. Here, half the athletes had no idea. Half the athletes were hearing rumblings from other athletes that definitely knew at least half the workouts straight off the bat. So you're like, all right, like either you have to tell everyone the workouts or just don't tell anyone because that's the way it has to be. This is for a cash prize.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah. It's very clear. If you know the workouts, you will perform better. Case in point, Rally in the Valley. You simmed them all, you performed them better than what you did in practice, and you're able to get cellular adaptation to perform better at those specific tasks. So if you're saying people knew prior, especially weeks in advance, that is great preparation time. Whether they took it or not, I don't know. If you want to name some of the athletes that knew, like feel free to rattle off some names because I would love to hear this, because this is another thing. If you didn't take that time to practice those events and you knew them ahead of time, you just fumbled big time.
Yeah. There was definitely some athletes that probably fumbled because they didn't practice. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but like I know exactly who knew the workouts weeks prior, but I knew that's a fact. So if I know that's a fact, like why are we having this conversation? Like something is wrong with the organization of Hybricon that shouldn't have happened.
So I'm going to say it right here because Dylan won't. You know who you are. You know you knew the events. Man, what a fumble to drop that ball and not actually do the events when you knew them. But you're right. This is a cash prize event. You have a bunch of athletes that are paying to be here that expect to have the same baseline for everyone, whether everyone knows or whether no one knows. It should be the same for everyone. If you're going into something and athletes have an advantage, which knowing an event, that's a massive advantage in my book, that is unfair. And whether or not you want to talk about it, like you have to be very safe, especially if you're the director of this event, that you got to keep it an even playing field for everyone. Like this is, like you say on the website, this is a championship for hybrid athletes. They are testing grit and, performance. And everyone starts on that same baseline when they show up for the weekend.
100%. Super simple. Tell us the workouts or don't tell us the workouts. It's one or the other.
But it seems like it was completely regardless because you showed up. I mean, maybe day one didn't go your way and you were still, on the leaderboard, but not where you wanted to be. And then come day 2, day 3, you were just holding on to that first place spot and never looking back.
Yeah, there was a few events I was looking forward to. The Bowathon, like amazing event. I loved it. If you didn't know what it was, we had to shoot 5 arrows into a target. Depending on where you hit in the target was taking seconds off of your run time. And as soon as you're done with shooting 5 arrows, you run a 400-meter lap. And the 400-meter lap was on gravel. It was kind of like up some hill, down some hills, up more hills to finish. So it was like a very gritty 400-meter sprint.
Yeah, I couldn't make it from the live stream or some of the videos that I saw, but it did look like a rough run because with the total time around 90 seconds to shoot your arrows and run, or
I was averaging the same splits throughout. So they had a cut down. Like it started with 5 athletes, and then they cut one, and then they cut another one, and then they cut another one. So it was like a bracket style event. So if you got to the end, like I did and Andrew did, we had to run that thing 5 times.
Oh man.
But I was averaging like 140 splits the entire time. That's with shooting my arrows. And the only reason I won that event, because Andrew is a phenomenal shot with his bow and he's a fast sprinter. I saw him setting up his arrows like up. Originally I did mine resting on the log and I had to bend over, pick it up, and shoot every time. And he was sticking them in the ground, so he didn't have to bend over and could just pick it up and go and shoot. So his cycle rate was faster. So I saw that. I'm like, that seems so easy and smart. Like, I'm just gonna do what that dude's doing. He's a genius.
Adapting on the fly, that's good. Always good. So did they actually cut down your splits? Were your splits negative once you figured that out?
My cycle rate was faster because I definitely like probably the running will get a little bit slower. Like I still gave it everything that I had on every single run, but so that's why I averaged the same time throughout all my events. The biggest thing why I think I did so well is because like I watched every heat prior to me going. Like this good thing about being first is you could go in the last heat. I just watched everyone. I'm like, okay, what's working for them? What are they doing? Oh, that guy's doing something cool. I'm going to do that. So I think the biggest thing is just like being able to adapt on the fly and also like just change your strategy. If something's not working, don't go plan A harder. Just quickly try to adapt and go plan B. Because a lot of athletes, like they got stuck in that mindset of like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they just keep doing that plan A.
No, yeah, that's always good to adapt. And I know particularly that you're well at doing so, especially if you see something working for someone, you're definitely going to try to see if it works for you as well. And with such a successful event going on, you're moving into what you thought were 2 more events, wrestling and paintball. And then to find out it got cut to just 1. I don't know what was going on. I wasn't down there. What happened? Was it a time thing? What was going on that an event got cut and what was left?
Yeah, I could definitely tell like Austen was getting worried because like athletes were getting injured. Cole got injured during murder ball. He got a concussion, and I thought he broke his like orbital. Luckily, it doesn't seem that way the last time I talked to him, but things could have changed. Like fewer athletes like pulled hamstrings, like Marcus and Phil pulled hamstrings. So they had to pull out. Caleb got injured. Marshall Couples, he got injured with a little bit of like a chest pec tear. So like athletes were getting injured. And I remember on my 3rd lap of the boathon, like I crossed the finish line and like I thought I pulled my hamstring. I thought I sprained it.
Oh,
I felt
no.
all that heat and tension like pretty close to like the insertion point, and I was started walking funny and I was holding it. And Austen saw that. He's like, Are you okay? He's like, is everything good? And I'm like, yeah, I think I could keep going. So like I walked away and did my 4th and 5th round. Definitely a little compromised, but I think he started noticing that and was like, all right, wrestling is probably not the best idea.
That's a really good call on a director. It's very hard to have a set number of events, want to do them because you want to showcase the physicality of your games, but to make sure the athletes are taken care of is some people will definitely let their ego get in the way and still would have done the event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was
think
actually
Austen
really
made
good.
the right call. I think Austen made a great call. And honestly, I don't think doing like physical wrestling combat is great for any event unless you're a wrestler. Because when you have 2 guys that go head to head and they don't have any wrestling experience or they don't know what they're doing, someone's going to get injured. Like that's what you're
Yes.
asking for. If someone has fighting experience or they're a rugby player and they know how to tackle people, great. But if you have 2 football players going head to head, like all they know is how they tackle in football, someone's going to get a concussion, someone's going to get injured. I got injured last year doing the wrestling too. So like it's just happened. That's why I was worried about wrestling this year. So I'm like, I just don't want to get injured.
Yeah. Okay.
So like the tug of war, great event because it's combat and it's keeping the athletes safe. Moss wrestling, if they used a thinner stick because then it turned into grip strength last year. But either way, still a great combat event and no one's getting injured. So
Yeah,
I think you have
very,
to kind of
very
pick
true.
and choose.
I think, especially the tug of war this year, the way it was laid out with the athletes sitting in those massive tires, made it very reminiscent to Moss wrestling and a very cool spin on how to do tug of war.
100%.
I think it kind of leveled the playing field to more of a strength aspect than if you were doing traditional tug of war.
Yeah, it definitely leveled the playing field because you didn't have to be the biggest guy. Because I had a buy on that one, and I saw Christian absolutely rip his opponent out of a tire in one pull, and I was like, I gotta go against this monster next. I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah, yeah. So what happened in that event going against Christian?
Oh, yeah. So as soon as I sat down, I looked at him and I just saw this mass of a man. I'm like, okay, like my game plan has to change right now. So like I just looking dead center of the rope, like out of any periphery of Christian, not gonna look at him. And like I'm just gonna hold on, like kind of like I would like my Moss wrestling technique. Like I'm just gonna see what he's doing and then gauge my strategy off of that. And like I felt him pulling so hard, and the rope was just about to slide. So that's where you have to change your plan. Like I can't just plan A harder and just keep holding on. He's gonna pull it out of my hands. So a quick loosening up the rope, recenter, and I could tell he was off balance just by the way the rope felt. Like I didn't have to look at him, but the way the rope felt, I knew like there was something I could do. And it was just hand over hand, hand over hand. Kept pulling him off balance, and like I was able to win that event.
So when you felt that tension change, you weren't even looking at him still. You were just like, all right, head down, just keep working with this rope tension.
Yeah,
Like,
I was just constantly feeling the rope to see the change in tension, knew exactly what to do from there.
very cool. Very cool. Solid. So that was great event to walk away with. And then last event for Sunday, currently in first place, your last event is going to be paintball. How did the structure of that go? And then did you think that you were already going to walk away with the first place finish for the weekend? Like, what was your standings like at that point?
I believe at that time, I think I had enough points where I knew, because all the bracket events, like if you got last in the bracket, you were getting 12 or 15 points. So I'm pretty positive, like I was above that. I think I was like 24 points ahead of second place. So I knew I was in first place. I'm like, all right, paintball's gonna be fun.
So
Like,
paintball was you're like, all right, I don't have to stress this one. I'm just gonna go out, shoot
yeah,
some shots, and like it doesn't matter what happens.
yeah. And the paintball guns were awesome, by the way. Like they were like AR style paintball guns, like no hopper. They actually had magazines and clips full of paintballs. So like this is sweet. Like these actually look like real guns and they fire like real guns. It was awesome.
Hell yeah. Okay, that's cool. Wait, so they were still like CO2 tanks and everything, right? Coming off the back,
Yep.
or okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, so the structure was there was a flag in the center. You start on the outside, and there's a few like hay bales as bunkers, but super tiny course. Like you're talking about maybe 30 yards length at most. And the goal was just to get the flag, bring it back to your side. If you get shot, you have to drop the flag if you're holding it, and then run outside where you started, and then run back in to continue. So it's always live once you come back in. And each magazine clip only had about 20 paintballs in it, and you were only given one extra clip to keep going.
Okay, so very
So you had 40
conservative.
shots. You had 40
Yeah.
shots, and you had to realize like how long does it change a clip? Like no one really knows. So anyway, Raymond, who's like the youngest athlete out there, just acting like a child. It's like paintball day on summer camp. He's just super stoked to be there. And I'm going against him, and he won his first round because I had to buy the first round. So I'm like, sweet, I'm just gonna push the pace on this. And I knew some athletes were like getting down into the hay bales, and they would just get stuck there because no one wanted to go up and shoot or get shot, and it was just being stagnant. So I'm like, all right, I go to the first hay bale. I'm like, nope, just gonna keep pushing the pace, keep walking forward, advancing to the flag. I see Raymond. I hit him first. He hits me, but he's out. So I grab the flag, start running. And I can't run that fast. My hamstring is just dying. So I'm like, all right, I'll just do what I can. And Raymond's able to come back, hit me so many times. I think he hit me 5 times before anything happened. So I had to drop the flag, run back, and I start shooting at him, but I was out of ammo. And I should have reloaded the clip as I was running out to run back in. This is my fault. I didn't know where the mag release was exactly on the gun. So I'm like fumbling with my finger, like trying to feel it. And I finally hit it, get the clip reloaded, and great. He's already out. So he won the event. It was a super fast event.
So that was more of just a preparation issue, and yeah, it looks like he just had the wheels to turn over.
Basic firearm rules, know your weapon. I did not know my weapon, so that's on me.
Yeah, that's definitely on you.
But I am glad that I lost to the champion because Raymond won that whole paintball event. So if he was the guy to win, glad it was him.
Yeah, so no harm, no foul. You lost to the greatest paintballer on the field that day.
Yeah.
But overall, you knew you had the win going into that event. Once it wrapped up, like when did it kind of hit you that like awesome walking away with another championship win for this weekend? And what did that mean to you specifically and all the training you put into it?
It didn't really hit me all until like I got home. Like it was cool, like to be there. They didn't have a podium at there. Like, oh, we're gonna go to the Bridge Cafe, have dinner, do podiums there. And there's like no podium. It was just like, all right, here's our first place winner. But like nothing really came to realization until I got home and then I got to reflect on the whole weekend and be like, all right, come down from that high. And then I'm like, all right, this is what I'm proud of. This is what I did well. This is what I learned about myself. And like that's when it all came home.
So what moment are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of just like that, the boathlon. Like there was no time where I let myself let off the gas. It was all go.
And do you
All
think
go.
you're even more proud because of like the hamstring issues and you were like, doesn't matter, it doesn't phase me, I'm going?
Yeah, I think that's not the biggest issue. It's like I shot so well on one round that I knew I had 30 seconds on someone, and people are like, "Oh, you could take this lap easy," and I'm like, "Fuck no, that does a disservice to every other athlete out there." Like, if someone's gonna lose, they want to lose to someone doing their best. So like, I didn't slow down on any event. Like, it was just all gas. I went out as hard as I could.
That's awesome. That's really cool, especially knowing that you could kind of ease up and you'll walk away with an event win, just knowing that nope, because you never know, you're not promised anything.
Yeah,
So you're gonna go,
nothing's a given.
yep, you're not promised anything. You're gonna go all out every time. And that's awesome for the other athletes. They should be very happy that, they are getting a certain level to rise to.
Yeah, 100%.
Would you do this competition again next year? Are you going to defend your title? We already know you want to go back to Rally and defend your title. What is
100%.
it going to be for Hybricon Games?
So I love Austen and the way he makes like these core moments for people when they show up to the event. But Austen has nothing to do with like how the event's shaped. He's like, hey, here's my idea. Like, just make it happen. And he gets people to make it happen. I'm so glad Matt Stevens still stepped in for this year because he's part of Rally and like whatever he does, I want to be a part of that. So as long as Matt Stevens still part of it, as long as Austin's still like letting like that happen, I'll come back. But something needs to change with like the events need to be kept secret or you tell everyone. And if you're going to give scorings and rules, like let it out in the open, let it known right away. Hunter said all the right things, but nothing actually came to fruition on every single event.
So it sounds like a lot of the same criticism they're going to get this year as they did last year. If it does change, great. I mean, it's always an evolving sport that there's the opportunity to change. And then who knows, maybe you'll see me on the field trying to chase your title. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, Dylan, thank you for your time. And thank you for, kind of showcasing us that champion that mindset that you show up for and kind of provide people, especially kudos to your coach for all the training that he does and puts out for you, just getting you dialed in for every event, even though you guys have no idea what it is. Is there any other things you want to say to maybe the other athletes or maybe people considering about moving more into hybrid competitions like Hybricon Games?
All the athletes that competed this weekend are like specialists in their own single way. Like I am super stoked I got to meet, like there's a kid, Colby Miller, super funny, just like all in. Like you could kind of see like this is how a high school athlete trains, and he still acts that same way. So you get all these personalities of like different people, different things, and they're all good at whatever they do. And to compete against them at their own event is like by far amazing. So if you're new to the sport, if you have no idea what to expect, like you could be specialist in one thing, come to this and do great in your event, and then you're just going to get pushed by every other athlete competing in every other event. So this is all about just like going guns a-blazing into something new.
And I do want to preface this, unlike Rally, which is open to everybody and all skill levels, this one in particular, there's a qualifier for. It is looking for a higher caliber athlete just to get onto the Hybricon Games course. So just let anyone else know about that prior. Other than that, awesome. Thank you for your time. And again, congratulations on securing the win. Second time in Hurricane, West Virginia, first time locking down for Hybricon Games 2025.
Oh, last fun note. The mayor of Hurricane, super cool guy. He wouldn't let me be mayor since I took both titles. 2, would not give me a key to the city. But 3, he did have a verbal contract that he said he would make me cop for a night. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So next time I'm in West Virginia, I want to be cop for a night.
I mean, aren't you a firefighter? Doesn't that go against what you do? Isn't 100%. There a blue versus red type of rivalry?
Yeah, but it'd still be great to shoot off some guns.
Oh God. Anyways, with that, take care, guys, and we'll come up with something next week.